Hi guys, and welcome back into this video. Today I have the pleasure to have with me Alex, that is the co-founder of Pendulum, that is a blockchain, or better, a parachain that has just won the block on Polkadot, and together we will discuss with him what is Pendulum and which is the kind of innovation that they are trying to bring and what we can expect from them into the next future. So I'm really happy to have you here, Alex. So welcome. And if you want to present yourself and tell to our audience something about yourself, it will be quite nice.
Perfect. Thanks, Alberto. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the nice introduction. So I'm Alex, co-founder of Pendulum and also co-founder of Satoshi Pay, actually. We are working since 2016. I am personally working on blockchain already for Satoshi Pay, and Satoshi Pay is already building products on blockchain since 2014. So we already seen some ups, downs, and some products there, which was very interesting in the history.
And if you want to define in just a couple of seconds, what is Pendulum? How you would define that?
So with Pendulum, we're building a shared infrastructure, focusing on businesses first. And this infrastructure has the focus on connecting fiat and DeFi. So we're connecting traditional finance with the DeFi innovation. That's mainly it in a nutshell, I would say. And the first product is also very easy to understand, is offering a cross-border transfer much more efficiently, much more like with lower fees and faster than in traditional finance, because that's a use case every business actually, almost every business needs.
So the main focus is on business or private people?
More on businesses. So there are some applications already working for private people, right? If you want to send money around, but our specific focus is on businesses, meaning business features like multi-user management. So you want to also have your finance manager somehow configured. So as you know it from traditional finance, actually, and if you have a business account, you have different signature levels, you have different limits, daily limits. So all these features we want to transport also to the Web3 space and offer them there. And also businesses have different needs in terms of liquidity and transaction sizes than normal users. So sometimes you can already send, let's say, $100 or $1,000 around pretty efficiently. But what we experienced is that whenever it goes to 100,000 or 200,000 or 50,000, 20,000 even, there is a lot of slippage. For example, if you exchange currencies, there is a lot of fees then added on top of that, and you have to watch liquidity very closely then. So it gets more complex for those business needs.
Yeah, not to mention that many times also require a much longer time frame to move your money, because what is beautiful when it comes to blockchain is also the speed that occurs to conclude any kind of transaction, no matter what is the amount of the transaction itself. And which is the current state of the art of the product?
So we, as you said in the intro, we just won the Parachain slot on Polkadot, which is great. We are big fans of the Polkadot ecosystem. It gives us from day one the trust, decentralization, and credibility from Polkadot, right? So no one has to trust Pendulum itself. We already let's say get the security from Polkadot. So the Polkadot relay chain is also securing the Pendulum chain.
Yeah, that's something that is quite interesting. If you want to also explain to the audience what does it mean having a parachain and what is the advantage and the difference, just to help them better understand and have the full picture.
Yes, I think we decided, I think a year, 1.5 back, to enter an ecosystem with our blockchain. So the alternative is to build a standalone blockchain. If you do that, you have to do everything on your own. So you have to set up your blockchain nodes. So that's the computers that are running the blockchain. This needs to be decentralized a lot, right? So you have to get a lot of community already initially built on. And you start, let's say, from a point where you're still very centralized, and then you're decentralizing it in your lifetime. So actually, when you start the standalone blockchain, it's not a great product initially, because it's still in its, let's say, in a young age. And no one is really sure, can it be trusted? How decentralized is it? I mean, we've seen these discussions all around with new chains and also very well-known chains, actually. And if you enter an ecosystem, like the Polkadot ecosystem, this currently serves, I think, 100 parachains. So 100 blockchains can be connected via the Polkadot relay chain. It's kind of, they also call this sometimes the layer 0, that is kind of connecting all these blockchains together. And this relay chain makes sure like that the basic functionality is already working fine. So there cannot be any double spendings, or there cannot be any attack vector on the basic blockchain functionality. Is already covered by that relay chain, which is awesome. And then, of course, there are additional features from that relay chain offering a lot of interoperability. So you can move assets around in a trustless manner. So there is no need for bridges. By the way, another attack vector, right? We've seen a lot of hacks there last year. So that's actually a great system that works in a very trustless manner, which is great for us, and I think great for every blockchain there. And you get a lot of support from the ecosystem too. You can collaborate very easily. So for us, it was the first choice to do that. Also the technical system and the technical setup. It's substrate based, so it's very technical. But
without going too much in detail, the technicalities, that is not so important.
It was also a technical decision to do it because the tech is, according to our tech people, more advanced than other blockchain ecosystems.
Yeah, what I love about this kind of, at least is a blockchain network, is that really it is like native, the possibility to interact with different kind of parachains and giving the ability to different projects to build something together and start talking each other without having to think about problems about compatibility, about bridges and so on. That's something that is already native into the blockchain, and that's something that is amazing. So I suppose that in the next future, we will see also Pendulum start integrating other stuff into the ecosystem of Polkadot.
Yes, so we are bringing a lot of stablecoin currencies in, not only dollar or euro token, but also Canadian dollar token, Mexican pesos token. So a lot of currencies, British pound, right? So a lot of currencies that are not there yet. For specifically also our use case to build an alternative forex market also there on chain. And we're also profiting, of course, from the ecosystem through this interoperability that you mentioned. So there is already a USDT from Tether, for example, on Polkadot. And we can have this native asset also on Pendulum and use it immediately from day one, which is also a big advantage for us. And if we want to cooperate with another Web3 project, let's say, for example, a decentralized identity project, there are already some on Polkadot as a parachain. And again, we could cooperate very deeply on the technical level with them in a trustless manner. So there is no attack vector, and there is very low friction for users then to use that, right?
Yeah, completely agree. One thing that is a quite difficult question, not really from the point of view of the what, but from the point of view of the how. What I want to ask to you is how you would explain to, let's say, to my mother that is passionate about blockchain and she want to start to understand and also choose a project instead of the other. If you want to explain to her what Pendulum is doing from the first step to the final step and which is the real value compared to literally practically speaking, because I have completely understood the topic, but I'm into this industry 24 hours a day. So that's a different story. But for a person that is just approaching, let's try to explain them why and how powerful could be this kind of a new kind of approach.
Yes. That's a very good question. I have to think about I don't know your mother, but
no problem. It's just to think about yours. But the main point is that many people are passionate about DeFi and so on, but most of all, they are just looking to the chart and asking, is it growing or not? But the point is that, especially when you invest in something that is just starting, you need to understand what is doing and how, and which is the real problem they are solving. Because at the end of the story, any kind of company, first of all, it has to solve a problem. And after that, the price will come, but that's the second step. If you don't solve any kind of problem, yes, that's just a bad speculation, but we are gambling. Nothing bad against that, but that's another story, obviously.
Yes. So we're always for the actual real world use case. So I think we have a very tangible story, because what you currently do in traditional finance, if you want to send money around from A to B, let's say from Mexico to Europe or the other way around, and then you pay let's say on average, you pay between 1 to 3% of fees from that transaction, and the money arrives within a week, let's say, through the traditional rates. And that's exactly the problem we're touching upon. Also, the third problem is, so it's cost, it's the time the transaction takes, and the third one is the transparency. So usually you don't know where the money currently is. Like after 2 days, you just don't know, because there might be some correspondent banks in between where the money can be stuck. Also, there can be some errors in between. So there are a lot of actors and intermediaries on that journey, and you're not exactly knowing actually who that is. You just know you're a business bank, and then at one point you get the feedback from the other party that the money has been received. So that's what we are solving. So you can send money. Let's say you start in Mexico, sending Mexican pesos through Pendulum. So you will receive Mexican pesos token. They will be exchanged on our foreign exchange market on Pendulum to euros, and then euros will be off-ramped into the banking system in Europe. And you can do the foreign exchange with a fee that is like comparing with 1-2% in the traditional world, it will cost only 5 basis points. So it will be a very, very low fee, especially for bigger transactions. That makes a lot of sense to do that. And because we have still some friction when we talk about blockchain, this is the product, let's say the 20x advantage that you will have in terms of these fees and the time of arrival also, that will also give us an initial boost with some businesses, because they would also like experiment and try that out to save that money, right? On top of that comes that you can, on a public blockchain, you can always know where the money is and who currently is dealing with it. Is it currently exchanged on the AMM, on the automated market maker, or is it already off-ramped now? So where the money exactly is, and there are also much intermediaries involved. So I think that's the main story. There are a lot of development stories after that and more use cases to this. But I think to understand the general problem is we're just offering this on a public, transparent currency market for much lower fees, right?
So if I understand, what I want to ask is, if you understanding correctly, me as a bank, as a company, can connect my bank account to Pendulum, and through this kind of bridge, I can execute a transaction from my company to another company, another country, transferring a lot of money. And so the reality is that you are like the kind of technology that is enabling more institutions and companies to start using DeFi, because in some ways also like using your bank integrated with the DeFi system. And that's something that is a huge point, at least in my opinion. If we think about the future of DeFi, what really will change the next couple of years is that institutions will come. It's not just that we have from one side TradFi, traditional finance, and on the other side DeFi. The reality is that the real power comes when we are able to merge this kind of two ecosystem and starting using traditional finance through a blockchain and DeFi technology. So this is what at the end of the story you are trying to do and you are trying to accomplish.
Yes, it is exactly that, the on-ramp and off-ramp, how we call the connections to the blockchain, right? So that's where we're working on, and this should be as frictionless as possible. These are also local banking transactions. In the mid and long term, of course, there is maybe less need for you to on and off ramp, because you're already managing your assets maybe on chain. So this will develop also from now on. So we're focusing on these on and off ramps and on the exchange in the middle. That's a native protocol that is starting with Pendulum. By the way, our mainnet launches in about 2 weeks. So there we will see software running. It's very exciting times right now. And this automated market maker who's doing the currency exchange is also very specialized on stablecoin swaps. So you also have an advantage and an innovation there, which works usually better than in the traditional world, right? So there is more innovation doing capital efficient swaps on DeFi compared to the old order book style or the old currency exchange.
Yeah, what I was thinking is that is it something that will be available for any company, any bank, or at the beginning we'll have some kind of limitation in terms of maybe country, banks, partners, or whatever?
So there will be a limitation in geographies initially. So we'll focus on 10 currencies and geographies, mostly LATAM, of course, US, Europe, and then some African countries too. But we'll expand them this year. So, and if you're talking about limitations in terms of institutions versus businesses versus users, it's actually what we're aiming for is equal access for everyone, right? And we expect that the businesses and like business users will join first, right? We see institutions still sorting out regulation issues and sorting out their own technology and how they connect to blockchain. This will take a little longer. We are in talks with some institutional clients that are already using stable coins a lot. So for those, we are interesting. But in general, let's say a traditional bank and business bank will probably join a bit later. So that's not our initial target audience.
Yeah, because for example, also my experience, in the moment when I had simply to move from my centralized exchange to my bank account with the company, well, it was a mess. In some cases, I couldn't do that because they are simply blocking me to receive or send money to an exchange. And that's something that is happening in different kind of banks. So sometimes you have to do some kind of turnaround just to find a way to move your money from your bank account to any kind of centralized exchange. I don't know how this kind of stuff could be solved also from, it's something that maybe also through this kind of system could be overcome, or that's something that is another topic that maybe, as you said, it will require a lot of time because it's much more complex. It requires also the involvement of banks and other kind of institutions.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think a traditional, or let's say a classic friction that happens in such a transition phase, I would say, because the traditional world is still not too sure how they handle crypto, how they see crypto, how this is regulated. Most of the stuff is also not yet regulated in some geographies, right? So it's starting now. We have in Europe regulation now implemented. But still DeFi is still in development. So there is a lot of friction in this transition phase. The partners we're working with for the on and off ramps are, let's say, crypto native, because they will also be issuing these stable coins on Pendulum or on the network. That's why there wouldn't be the same friction. Talk about interaction to centralized exchanges. But definitely I see this will change definitely, and the merge of the two systems or the interconnections will become better in the future, I'm pretty sure, because it also the traditional institutions, they have to somehow survive this movement, and they also need to offer the services that are offered in DeFi to their clients at one point, right? So they cannot ignore that.
Absolutely. And in your opinion, is there like a time frame when we will be able to solve this kind of problem, or is that something that is, obviously it's difficult to predict and nobody has an answer, but just your opinion from a person that is obviously talking with a lot of this kind of companies, so is facing every day this kind of challenges, how long it will take for real to go to the next step? Because at the end of the story, that's the next step that we need to solve.
So my personal opinion regarding this development and transition and change of institutions also is that, and that's why we're also focusing on business clients and end users in the beginning and not explicitly institutions, because I think the initial wave now will come from end users, business clients themselves, not necessarily from the institutions. I mean, there will be some very innovative institutions first movers that will also have a great advantage of moving there. But I think let's say the pressure will come from more and more users using services like Pendulum for Forex, for other use cases, for trade finance, directly, using more and more stable coins also. I think a lot of banks and institutions are having projects and discussing strategies about offering stable coins. We have the CDBC discussion. So we move into a tokenized financial, I think, infrastructure. And time-wise, I would say it still takes a while. But the next 1 or 2 years, I think, is that the pressure will increase with the tools we already have, right? We have USDC, we have more stable coins. There will be more applications coming like Pendulum, solving real-world use cases. And that will increase the pressure then for institutions also to join that game. For some, it will be too late, but there will be, I guess, a better coexistence of the two systems. Yeah.
Absolutely. Going back to Pendulum, you say that the launch is going to be like in a couple of weeks. So is it right? Is there already an exact date?
Yes. So the exact date is actually defined by a certain block in Polkadot. That's why sometimes the time is a little bit changing, but we're talking 13th February right now for the launch date. So that's not too far away. And yeah, everyone in the team is pretty excited about it. Some last software pieces are audited still. So yeah, we are preparing for the big launch. We're launching the mainnet. There will be a trustless bridge also launching. That's a bridge to the Stellar blockchain. The Stellar blockchain has already a lot of stable coins there that we will use initially. And the third one is our Forex market on chain. So the DEX will also launch within this time frame, not everything on the 13th February, but in this, yeah, let's say in the week after. And that's an independent project called 0x Amber. And yeah, that's also very exciting. They have a very novel design, AMM build there. And yeah, you can have a look at it.
Is it something like a curve or more Uniswap when we talk about this?
Yes, so it is a novel design. It's not like a copy of Curve or a Uniswap. It offers a 2x better slippage and fees comparing to Uniswap V3 or Curve. So, but you can compare it in general with Curve, which is also a stable coin DEX, right? Or specialized on stable coins specifically. But what we did is that the team of Amber, they did some optimizations, especially for stablecoin swaps. They're using price feed, and yeah, they work more capital efficient, offering also swaps for bigger transaction sizes, especially for businesses when we're talking businesses with a lower liquidity. So they're more capital efficient in that way.
So if I'm understanding correctly, also, aside from solving the point of transferring money, it will change also the point of view, because in order to move liquidity, there will be someone that could be also a liquidity provider, start earning fees, or that's something that how it is managed, liquidity. So everyone can be a liquidity provider, someone should go through a certain kind of process, or how it will be the system?
Yes, so that's as we are in Web3, everyone cannot only be a user, but can also offer services, right? Can offer liquidity. There will be some initial liquidity provided by partners, like some of the banking partners that are doing on and off ramp will provide their tokens on chain, but also users can look at the incentive programs that are launching with Pendulum. So the initial liquidity will be incentivized, of course, for the DEX and also in general for the bridge. So that might be interesting to look at, definitely from the user perspective. And yeah, so from that liquidity standpoint, I think we can in Web3 we have the opportunity or the options to incentivize this also with the general tokens of the platform. What we're looking at to solve the big friction, let's say, that and bring more users in is the user journey and the usability.
Absolutely, that's
UX. And
I saw a couple of screens from your application, and the kind of user experience looks like pretty nice. And that's something that I have been saying many times also into the channel. Guys, we need to really work on the user experience UI, because right now it's still too complex. We need to keep it straight and easy to use, because at the end of the story, it will be a user that needs to use. And decentralized means onboarding more people with different kind of and diverse background. We can't expect that all of them are having the time and the patience and also the ability to go through hyper complex interface like the ones that maybe into a traditional finance many people are still used to have. And when you were saying, you also mentioned about the token. So Pendulum already has a token. What is the current state of the art of the token?
So currently there's no token yet from Pendulum. So the token will be generated with the mainnet launch that is scheduled for 13 February. So that mainnet launch will also be the time where the token is initially available and will be created.
And it will be available on which chains, if we already know that?
So we're still in the final, let's say, phase of signing some agreements there, and it is for centralized exchanges. It's a difficult time.
I know
they had some downturns at the end of last year, looking at the FTX and all these measures, and I think also some other bigger exchanges, they were suffering these developments a little bit. But yeah, we're trying to to also, of course, see that the Pen token will be listed somewhere. Because that's, of course, one main point to solve. We want to get users on chain.
Absolutely. I have another couple of questions, more generally speaking, about the market. But before going on that, I want to ask if you want to say anything else, if we missed anything that is important that I should know about the Pendulum, and also the people should know about your vision, your mission, of what to expect in the next future from you and your team.
So we definitely want to make blockchain usable for businesses. I think that's what you can expect. We'll not all be ready on the launch, but I think we need some time, some kind of smart wallet. So it's just not possible that you lose your money when you lose your private key for a business. I think that just doesn't work.
Absolutely.
We need to solve that.
Absolutely.
And we will solve this not only for Pendulum, we will also solve this probably then for other parachains or even other blockchains. We need a nice solution there, and we're happy to team up and cooperate, of course, with other parties. So that's what you definitely can expect. Also, nice user management, which I haven't seen yet on any other ecosystem or any chain. I think this is possible to develop. It could work in a very trustless manner, right? To have the same features that you have in traditional finance. And our vision would be that we can create such a nice user experience and user interfaces that you don't feel that you're using crypto, right? You want to send some money around. That's all what you should think about, and nothing else, right? So that's, I think, what you can expect. And we're building a lot of these features also this year. There will be nice accounting integrations for businesses also. And we will also implement privacy issues. I think that's one big topic also that needs to be solved. Also, to be compliant actually in certain geographies, you cannot put personal data just on the public blockchain visible for everyone. So some data you have to take care about the privacy too. So yeah, we're solving that.
Absolutely.
And if there are some new developments in the stablecoin space, so we're looking at compliance and CBDCs too, that will definitely become a part of Pendulum too, because that's just fitting in our vision very nicely to serve for cross-border transfers, for fiat financial services, right, that are using traditional currencies on the new system, right?
Yeah, I completely get it. There are a lot of things, but most of all, what I love about this chat, and generally speaking, is starting to see that finally on blockchain is not anymore just about speculation and just about meme coin or just gaming and so on, but also business. Because at the end of the story, the real value, where the money are about institutions, companies, and everywhere it is generating money. And blockchain need also to start solving the problems for these kind of companies. And that's the big point, because in the moment when we will be able to solve from the user's experience, from the security, because as you said, the whole story about the seed, the phrase, and the keys, that's a big problem, something that a company can't afford. I can't afford to lose everything, because that's my life. That's the life of the people that are working with me, and so on. So that's something that is really important. It really hope to see much more hype about this kind of stuff instead of just the new protocol is offering you an insane API. That's cool, that's nice, but at the end of the story, it's not what will bring the industry to the next level. What we need is really something that is able to address the problems of the market, the real market, so companies, institutions, and so on. So really happy to see that you are going to this direction. And going more broader and trying to widen the point of view, obviously all the people are wondering, because at the end of the story, yes, we love to see the technology evolving, but on the other side, everyone is here also for the money. In your opinion, are we starting a new bull run? I know that nobody has can forecast it, but in your opinion, just out of curiosity, just your personal opinion, because obviously, again, guys, we are always here just to share our personal opinion. Nobody is able to predict anything. So don't take any word as it will happen, because we don't know. We are just sharing our experience, our ideas, just to help you better understand what can happen in the next future.
Yeah, always interesting topic. I mean, I think I'm looking at Bitcoin closely and testing it since 2013. So there were a lot of ups and downs in that time. I'm not so curious or interested in these let's say hyper bull runs or the sentiment going crazy with the market. So I think we're kind of in a back to neutral zone now. I think also looking at the sentiment index there, and for me that's fine. And I think I can only speak for, I mean, our journey. We're starting to enter a $250 billion market with the cross-border payments for businesses. So we're focusing on that. And there is always an influence, of course, from the general crypto sentiment. But I don't know what drives the next hyper bull run. And also, we try not to focus too much on that. I think currently, and that's what everyone says actually in the times where it's not so inflated, maybe it's nice. It's a nice time to build stuff and to focus on real use cases, and that's what we're doing there. And yeah.
But I think that you say the right, because what is the real message we should send to the people is, guys, look to the kind of development from the point of view of engaging with corporations, with institutions, because that's what will drive the next bull run. I don't know if it will start tomorrow or in a year or whenever it is, but the point of seeing so many companies, applications that are starting to work with this kind of entities, wow, that's huge, and that's what can really drive the whole next bull run. Said so, we are coming to the end of this chat. I want to ask you just if you want to add a single one thing in 30 seconds, just to summarize what we have said.
One sentence or?
One sentence, that's fine.
All right. So I think what we've talked about is, I think, the advantage of Web3, we touched up on that, and that there's still like tons of potential to unlock a value, I think, where we see products in the traditional world, in traditional finance, and to unlock that in Web3, I think this potential is huge, and that's what we discussed a little bit in this round, and I'm looking forward to executing on that mission.
Yeah, great. I wish you really to be able to realize your view, because that's the kind of thing that the whole market is needing. So really thank you for being here. I will leave you guys all the links into the description below, so you can access them directly from that. If you have any kind of question, feel free to ask into the comment section below. Thank you, Alex, and see you into next.
Thanks, Alexander. Great chatting with you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.